Hi all, it's Nick Watts here, back for We Love Betting after the international break. Starved of Premier League football for a weekend, forced to digest some pretty turgid stuff from England and co. So delighted to have it back, to be honest. 1 out of 3 last time out 2 weeks ago was a little bit disappointing, so that made the break even harder to take. But I'm going to try and whip through these 3 bets this time around. Just so I'm not waffling too much, and as I waffle about not waffling, I better crack on, eh? First game I'm going to is Man United Palace. It's 12:45 kickoff, and it feels familiar on the basis that last time out I was backing a big Manchester club against a newly promoted side to win to nil, and I'm going down a similar route again this time, based mainly on Palace actually. This one, in as much that they, although they were the top scorers at home in the Championship last year, actually 22nd in terms of goals scored away from home last year, which is a really stunning statistic when you consider how many they did score at Selhurst Park. Judging by my own research, only Ipswich and relegated Bristol City scored less goals on their travels, and you just got to think that Palace are going to struggle to stick one past Man United here. Not an awful lot of value kicking around in this game, really. But my feeling is that Ian Holloway, in un-Ian Holloway kind of style, has decided that his Blackpool team have taught him a lesson, that he's going to be a little bit more conservative this time around. I do think there's going to be certain games where his attacking instincts come out, but in these ones, I think he's really gonna ask his team to try and soak up some pressure and stifle the opposition. They certainly tried to do that against Spurs, didn't really create any real chances of note, and I'm not expecting them to trouble a Manchester United side that seems to be playing a more steady, experienced defence, certainly than last year when we saw a lot of rotation with De Gea at the start of the season and Lindegaard, of course, various defenders being used sparingly, the likes of Vidic and co. They seem to be playing every week now. I think that's going to make Manchester United stronger defensively. I think their troubles are probably more likely to be going forward in terms of challenging for the title anyway. But 6 of 10 meetings with the bottom 5 clubs saw Manchester United win to nil. They won all those encounters, as we said, last season. And I think this is going to be another one of them. 10 to 11, Manchester United to win to nil is my first bet. Second one up then, Aston Villa Newcastle, and for some reason I'm absolutely crazy. I'm going back for more goals here, despite the lack of them so far. And I'm going for Newcastle to be involved in a plenty of goals kind of game. For some reason I've either developed a liking of taking a beating at the hands of Newcastle, or I'm onto something that's going to come good eventually. I don't know. But third time lucky I'm going for here. I backed in the last 2 games to go over 2.5, and they haven't managed it just yet. But these 2 were some of the worst defences in the league for clean sheets last year. Aston Villa managed just 5. That was joint bottom with a few other clubs, and Newcastle managed just 6. On top of that, Newcastle saw 63% of their games go over 2.5 goals last season. Aston Villa saw 60%. And while we haven't necessarily seen the goal scoring prowess of Newcastle so far, I do think both these teams are likely to score in this game, and I'd just rather back overs at the bigger price of 10 to 11 here as well. So call me crazy, but I'm going over 2.5 goals there. Final one then, I'm going the other way here. This is Sunday's lone game, Southampton-West Ham. They've got sole responsibility for entertaining us, and I'm not sure if they're going to deliver that, to be honest, based on what we've seen so far. Southampton must be some sort of punter's darling, because the bookies keep pricing them up at silly short prices, and they're 5 to 6 in this game as well, which again, it's another price that's far too short for me. If I was going to back something, the match prices, I think the draw sticks out at 13 to 5. I think that's a cracking bet, because I don't expect many goals in this game at all. At 10 to 11 with Coral, it looks like a fantastic bet, to be honest, because I think there's a lot shorter prices with other bookies on under 2.5 goals. Between the 2 sides, the results so far must have been a 0-0, 3 1-0s, going either way, of course, a 1-1 and a 2-0. So between them, they haven't managed an over 2.5 goals game so far this season. Looking back into last season, West Ham were the lowest scorers in terms of away from home. They managed just 11 goals. So even Stoke outscored them away, which is an incredible feat on West Ham's part there. And of course, they're still missing Andy Carroll, whose injury problems go on and on. Southampton not in great goal scoring form themselves. They last scored 2 goals in a game when they beat Reading back in April, and there's been 9 Premier League games they've played since then. And I believe that they've scored 4 goals in their last 8 Premier League outings in all. So not looking like the most potent outfit themselves. Ricky Lambert coming back from international duty, maybe not as fresh as he might have been in months and seasons gone by where he hasn't been involved in those sort of things. 3 of the last 4 meetings have also been unders as well between these sides, just to throw in another stat there. And I just think that at 10 to 11, it looks like an absolutely storming bet based on the evidence we've got. So that's my final bet. The 3 then, as a quick recap, I've got Manchester United to beat Crystal Palace to 0, that's 10 to 11. I've got Aston Villa and Newcastle to finally produce some goals for me, over 2.5. At 10 to 11, and at the same price again, it's a hat-trick at 10 to 11s. I've got under 2.5 goals in Sunday's game, Southampton v West Ham. Good luck, guys. I hope you enjoy this weekend and have a few winners along the way too. Cheers.